Hey, it's America's Supermom. Thank you for joining me on my podcast. This series is the Corona Chronicles. I created this so that we would have an outlet of positivity in the midst of a lot of negativity. You know what I'm talking about. All the news, the fear around this virus, how it can affect us, what the new normal is looking like, and how so many things have changed that a lot of people feel like um, it is the end of the world, so to speak. So, this podcast was created so that those of us who have hope, who are willing to move forward with this new normal and innovate new things that will help us to be creative and positive. That is what this platform is for us to come together and share that positivity and that light with those who may need it. So if you're interested in sharing your insight, please reach out because we can never have enough positive news. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Thank you guys for joining me today. I am so excited about my next guest, Tonia Tyler. We actually met on Facebook, but we were connected through a group that we're in through Davia Shepherd, I believe. And so I'm really excited to have her here today. We were able to connect on a Zoom call and had a lot in common from YouTube to other topics, which we will get into in the interview. So at this time, I'm going to give Tonia the opportunity to introduce herself before we get into the interview.
Well, thank you, Miss Lachelle. Thank you for having me on here. It's a pleasure. This is the first time I've actually given an interview. Wow, I feel special.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yes. So tell us a little bit about you and then we'll get started.
Well, just a quick short version.
Hmm.
I am a YouTube, I guess, creative. I claim
Hmm.
that, and I am
Hmm.
a podcast host as
Hmm.
well. And I'm retired military, so I've been playing around with multiple things for about since 2010, and I
Hmm.
think I'm actually started to find my niche. So I am on the host of Coffee with Tea, and I'm having a ball.
That is so awesome. And I just love it because I was just able to be a guest on your show. So, really excited to have you on mine. So, for people who are, you mentioned that you're retired, and, some cases people are being forced into retirement, so to speak, because maybe their industries are affected with this virus or different things are moving parts are going on behind the scenes with their companies that they're working for. What advice would you give people now who have this like gloom outlook about how they're going to be able to move forward in face of retirement? What advice would you give them?
Um, I would say even with the title of retirement, you're not retired.
Mhm.
I think it's a mindset too. So you have to be careful with that title. I claim it. I'm excited because I retired from the military, but I'm not retired by no means. um,
Mhm.
so what it is I always look at this as a like one door closed, but now a
Mm.
new opportunity.
Mhm.
Even if I served for my 20 years with the military, I loved it and stuff like that. But when it was time to leave, it was time for me to go. Things had changed,
Mm.
so it was easy to I wouldn't say easy to transition. It was hard to transition to civilian world or civilian life, but it was time for me to go, and I knew in my heart it was time for me to go, even though it was hard to close that door, but it was time for me to go.
Mhm.
So I think sometimes, even if you're forced, I would say this is an opportunity to figure out really what is it that you wanted to do, and then ask
Mhm.
yourself, what can I do to get to that level? I
Mm.
you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's just it's a new door, it's a new phase, a new adventure. I always say have a positive mindset when you do it, because if you
Mhm.
were like, oh my god, yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same, but you know what? Life is not over. Over. So like
Right.
I said, you're retired, but you're not retired.
I love that. And so, what are some things that, I mean, we were talking when we were doing your interview about, how you're familiar with editing and, even just the whole platform of YouTube. That's a whole thing by itself, right? So,
Oh yeah.
what advice would you give people for staying relevant or, up to speed on things? Because some people could be like, when you're retired, the mindset could be, oh, I've worked so many years doing this and this is how it always was. But being in the space that you're in, you have to be a little bit more flexible and change because new things come out. So, what advice would you give people to kind of be in that state of mind?
The biggest thing I would say, stay a learner. Be a
Mm,
lifetime learner. That's been the biggest um thing I would say to grow for me, because um like I said, it's easy to get stuck in the mindset like, oh, I've always done this. Because I mean, like I said, I when I came out the military, I was, to put it nicely, I was institutionalized. Um
mm,
and I say that nicely, but I had
mhm,
to address, you have to recognize where you are, right?
mhm,
And when I left the military, I had things so structured in a certain way. And I like things to be structured in a certain way. And when
mhm,
I left the military, it wasn't structured like the way I was. So,
mhm,
it was I had a little rough time stumbling here and there
mhm,
to transition into who I am today. So, like I said, it is, as we mentioned about, um, I'm not where I used to be, but I'm not where I
mhm,
want to be, right? So,
mm,
but what it is I embrace the fact that there's always something I can learn. There's always something I can
mhm,
read. There's something I can always listen to. There's some video out there. There's somebody who's gone through every experience that I'm looking to experience, and that we're not alone in this. So,
mhm,
my biggest thing is embrace the time to learn. There's always something to learn. And
mhm,
you can pick up a book, you can pick up an ebook, you can read, you can listen to an audiobook. And I
mhm,
think that was the growth mindset really is what helped me get out of my funk, out of my
mhm.
because I was in a deep funk, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? The running joke in the military was, if they wanted you to think, they would have issued you a brain. So it was like, oh my God, now I gotta think for myself. I was like,
Right.
I gotta think. Oh my goodness. I'm so used to having it structured so way. So I
Mhm,
was lost.
mhm,
Embrace. I would say definitely embrace that period, because
mhm,
that's the point where you have to sit back and figure out what was working, what did you like, and
mhm,
what can you change now. And like I said,
mhm.
once you can figure out where you're at and where you'd like to go, then that's when you can start putting the things in place to take you to where you need to go.
I love that. And so, for somebody who's listening that, it's like it's starting over. It's like a new beginning. And, like you said, you're so busy, used to be having that structure. For somebody who says, okay, now what do I do? How do they go about finding out what their passion is? And so, like you said, hey, you think you found your niche with YouTube. What roadmap do they follow to begin that journey of finding out, their why or their passion?
I think it really started for me, and I think I shared with you more about, it was the four pillars. To me, it was the four pillars of life. It was
Mm.
what's the four things that really give a balance, right? So, and it didn't come
Mhm.
to me right away. It is a journey, right? So,
Mhm.
for me to be in the military, I was always used to doing something, get something done, go for a walk, go for a run, do something to get your body moving, right?
Mhm.
So that's how the whole pillars came about. So I started with the physical pillar. I could always
Mhm.
go for a walk. I can always get the clarity, think, reflect. What did I like? What do I
Mhm.
don't like? What do I not want to go forward? Why? What's something new I can bring to the table? There's always questions,
Mhm.
especially when you're walking and you get clarity.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
reflect on it. Use that
Mhm.
quiet time for yourself. Let you reconnect with the your divine within, that energy
Mhm.
source that your creator, whatever, I don't get hung up on the title, but
Mhm.
whatever your father, your creator, your divine energy source, whatever it is for you, that's the
Mhm.
quiet time. It gets still. I would say
Mhm.
definitely get still and ask,
Mhm.
what do you like? What do you like about yourself? And
Mhm.
what's one thing you'd love to change to get you to wherever you'd like to go? So like, I'm a
Right.
talkative person, if you
Mhm.
didn't know.
Mhm.
But I would always feel like I in the military, I was not as disciplined as some people would
Mm.
like me to be when I was in the
Mhm.
military. So even if I was in the military, I didn't really fit the military aspect of a hardcore soldier. But
Mm.
I love the discipline, right? I love the
Mhm.
correctness, but I liked having fun. So
Mhm.
I'd get outside, reflect. I enjoyed it. So then it took me into, well, what is this creator that I'm hearing about, that I'm getting a sense about? So it led me into the next pillar, the
Mhm.
spiritual pillar, because now
Mhm.
you're getting silent. You're getting reacquainted with who you are within, because
Mhm.
you've been so told this is what you need to do, but now you don't have anybody telling you what it is. So now you're like lost, and you're like, who am I? Oh,
Mm.
where do I go from here? Um,
Mhm.
what does this look like? So you start asking those relevant questions. You know what I'm saying? Those deep,
Mhm.
deep, insightful questions start to come to you when you're out walking, reflecting, you're quiet, and you're like, oh my God, where do I go? And then, like I
Mhm.
said, for me, the journey took me into the spiritual world. And it was like, what is this,
Mhm.
the divine source that people talk about? What is this God that people refer to? What is all this? So I took a little
Mhm.
dive into that. And then what it took me into is because I started reading, listening to the word. I would sit there with the book, Michelle, and I would
Mhm.
read a spiritual book and figure out what they said in the Bible matched up with what they put into the book. So I was like,
Mm.
that military
Mhm.
mindset was still kicking, like, is this true? you know,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
that inquisitive mindset. So I started diving, and I started, getting more familiar with what my faith would look like, my spirituality looked like, which then took me into the I call it the intellectual, or the emotion, the
Mm.
intellectual pillar. That's
Mhm.
more like learning. What am I
Mhm.
here for? You're starting to go into more questions. What can I do to make a bigger impact? And you start picking up books to read, because once you start connecting with other like-minded people, and you're
Mhm.
hearing what their story, your mind expands. Like, oh my gosh, it doesn't have to look
Mhm.
like this. I don't have to stay structured like this. The world is starting to open up, right?
Mhm.
And then it takes you into the next pillar I call the emotional. So it's like,
Mhm.
I got my good ground, physical foundation. I got a good spiritual
Mhm.
foundation. Then I got my intellectual. I know how to read. I know how to learn. I know how to grow.
Mhm.
Then it takes me into the emotional realm. Like, how do I control these emotions that are
Mm.
coming? And I'm not saying you can control them, but how do I pick them up? How do I know
Right.
when it's rising up? How do I recognizing it? So once you can
Mhm.
recognize those, you got a pretty good foundation right then and there.
Yeah.
And then once you get that foundation going, that's how you start to grow on to the other things. So that's how I think that journey took me into, like, that journey along the road, because I was so structured, but then I lost the
Mhm.
structure to finding
Mhm.
who I am, and it's a journey. So I said, embrace the journey, embrace this time that you have, because, like I said, it's one door closes, but another door is still open.
Mhm. So true. And I mean, it leads me to question, like, there was a level of stability and comfort with that military type of mindset, like you mentioned, like the whole thing of having that balance of the spiritual. Is this real, or is this, because it's like you were, kind of equipped to be self sufficient to some extent.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So it's like, if it's up to be, it's up to me, kind of like, so depending on yourself, and then to kind of let that go and give that trust to something else, it can be a big step,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
and I would also say, with the whole YouTube thing,
Mhm.
I was able to really, I guess you could say, play around with a little bit more, and because
Mhm.
I had my retirement to lean on, so
Mm.
I had a little bit of finances, and what I had to really do was, we did hit some really financial hardships during that
Mhm.
time that I was going through. But really, I think what happened was, um, when I retired, I hesitated on doing the things that I loved because I had responsibility. I had so many responsibilities. I had the house, the mortgage, the kids, the
Mm.
this and that, and all that stuff. And I was afraid to venture out to do something that I thought, I would enjoy, because I wanted to be the
Mhm.
responsible one. So
Mhm.
when I stepped out and I quit my job after I got hired on as a contractor, military contractor. And anybody would be like, why would you do that? Because it's hard to get on by to be a contractor. So
Mhm.
I was a double dipper. So I had my
Mhm.
military retirement, plus I had contractor money. So I mean, I
Mhm.
was doing pretty good, but
Mhm.
I wasn't happy. So
Mm.
I walked away from that, and that was in 2012. And like I said,
Mm.
we hit some financial. We lost a house. We lost some stuff,
Mm.
but I didn't.
Mhm.
The thing is, and when I was going through all, I had a BMW. That's enough. That's a whole other story too. I had a BMW,
Mm.
so I would say within a month time. It sounds like a horrible story, like finance. Like, why the hell would you do that? But
Right.
it's the greatest thing that happened to me at that time, because
Mhm.
I was so caught up in having the material stuff, the house, the
Mhm.
cars, and all this stuff. And I worked
Mhm.
so hard to maintain that material stuff that I didn't
Mhm.
value. That's my Alexa. She's talking to me.
Okay.
But
That's okay.
I didn't value the fact that the real things that really meant the most. She's gonna remind me. I have reminders for myself. But what I'm gonna
I
say,
love that. What did she say? That
she's
you're motivated and what?
I'm bold, motivated, and worthy. And this is sort of ties into what I'm about to tell you with the story with the house and the car.
Okay.
We hit the financial downswing, and I lost my house,
Mhm.
right? And a month
Mhm.
later, I lost the car. Well, the car I had was a BMW. I bought the BMW as my retirement gift from the military. So when I walked
Mm.
away from my good paying job, a lot of the money got switched from me being the primary breadwinner to my husband, and
Mm.
we had to figure out what would be our priority payments. So I had the BMW, right,
Mhm.
and I had an accident. So I was like, Lord, okay, now you really got my attention. I done lost my house. I done lost my car.
Mhm.
You got my
Mhm.
attention. So what am I supposed to be learning from this, right? So
Mhm.
I started walking. So that's how I get into the physical pillar, because I always went
Ah.
back to what I knew. I could always walk. I could always clear my head. I can always run. I could always do something simple like that. So as I
Mhm.
was going through that whole financial downfall, I was realizing that there are other things that are more important besides the
Mm.
car, the house, and stuff like that. So I make a long story short, why Alexa says the BMW is I had the hat, and I would take my little selfie picture and looking at myself in the selfie, and I had my BMW hat, and it always said BMW, right? And I was
Mhm.
thinking, BMW, BMW. It stands for the ultimate driving machine. So who is the ultimate driving machine? It's like me. I I am
Mm.
me driving myself. I am the vehicle that's going to take
Mm.
me to there. So BMW stopped standing for the car, and it started being be bold, stay motivated, and know that you're
Wow.
worthy of all the good that God has for you. So that's what
I
BMW stands for me.
love it.
So BMW, when Alexa comes on, she reminds me, she's saying you're bold, motivated, and worthy. She reminds
I
me of that
love that.
BMW. So it all is funny because that's how I'm telling you the story, but that's how it all came about.
That is phenomenal. And I love it's a reframe. Okay. This is the thing. We have to look at certain things that, we really have identified, because you think about it, you work so hard for a particular goal and that goal was real to you.
Mm-hmm.
A BMW was something that, really signified a big chunk of what it was that, your life was wrapped up into this thing. And so you're able to reframe that. I love it.
So
I
yeah.
love it.
So she reminds me periodically through the day. I have it set, and she reminds me that in the morning, like I'm amazing, or like said, she'll remind me of bold, motivated, and worthy, and stuff like that. So those are just like things to keep me on track.
I love that. And I love the aspect of, it's programmed and it's set up because this is the thing that you could speak to because a lot of people are thinking, oh, I want to turn over a new leaf, or maybe I didn't grow up with these beliefs or whatever. And I know that it's important to have these kind of mindset shifts or have this growth mindset. But you are showing us how important it is to create the environment for
Definitely. And so back to the long, you asked me about the YouTube.
it. Mhm.
Well, if you have the three words, and I believe you can people say three words, mantras or whatever, but the
Mhm.
BMW started to be the words I lived by for a number of years after I had lost the car and
Mm.
stuff like that. And so
Mhm.
bold, motivated word, and I don't always know how it's going to look like, but to me, starting a YouTube channel was being bold because nobody
Mhm.
ever in my family's ever done anything like that, and
Mhm.
so I always think about that bold, motivated, and worthy, and that's how it all came about. So I took that leap of faith and I said, you know what, I'm going to create this channel. I don't know nothing about editing, but I can always ask. I can watch a YouTube channel. I
Yes.
collaborate with other YouTubers, and I ask them like,
Mhm.
"Hey," because like I said, there's another lady that she had some funny editing on hers, and I'm thinking the first question when I had it, I was like I did with you.
Mhm.
How do you do that?
Mhm.
And so she's like,
Mhm.
as I had, when I came out, one of the biggest things I invested in myself with, once we was this year was I bought myself an iMac, a MacBook, right?
Mhm.
And I was
Mhm. Mhm.
because normally I would like, oh, I just get, I'm not knocking computers. So let me first say I'm not knocking computers. To me, an Apple was always a high end item. I never saw me having. But my husband
Mhm.
was like, treat yourself. So I was like, okay. So I bought the iMac. And my friend, and the first question was like, how do you do the editing? She's like, girl, if you have a MacBook, it's on there. She's like, it's iMovie. And I'm thinking, I have software for that. so,
Mhm. Mhm.
so I was like, I
Yeah.
already had it. It was built. It was already built in.
Yes. And this is I love that because how many times do we we don't think that these things, are good questions. We just assume that, we're already behind.
Mm-hmm.
But even just the mindset, I love the fact that, we ask the questions. There's been times that I just remember in my past that, I would let a question hinder me from moving forward because you think, well, I can't ask that, they probably think that I don't know anything, or whatever, you messing yourself up by not asking the question. And
Mm-hmm.
here you are, it's right on there, so that's just a blessing. So this is another thing to even bring up the YouTube because when people say YouTube, I just immediately think young. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
And I ain't young,
you
Bliss
know,
Michelle. I
I
am not
so
young.
I'm like, yeah, so it's like this is a bold step because it's, to me, I just think it's inundated with a lot of young people who get YouTube famous and all this kind of thing. So what is it that allows you, or your routine that helps you stay focused on what you're doing and not be distracted by the noise, so to speak, of other YouTube creators?
I would say to me, this I distraction is my biggest thing, and what really got me thinking about some of the stuff was I had to take myself off of Facebook a lot because I
Mm.
sat there and I compared myself significantly to other people, and I tried
Mhm.
multiple businesses and it just
Mhm.
didn't seem to quite click with me, and I just got so
Mhm.
tired of it, and I remember sitting there and I'm thinking, Tanya, why are you in this little funky mode, right? And it came down to self-awareness. It's like, pay attention to the routines that you're doing. So I would get on Facebook and then I would scroll through, the feed, and I would see all these business owners, sharing all this great stuff that they're going. And I'm thinking to myself, I know I'm not stupid, but why am I not getting these businesses off the ground? Right. So then it came to me, it's like, get your butt off of Facebook. So, so I took some time off of Facebook and I really dove down into reading more books. And I mean, I could read about 27 books in a year. And
Awesome.
I take notes, and I'm not a fast reader, and I'm like taking notes, I'm writing it down, and I'm thinking like this stuff is starting to stick in my head, and I can see it, right? And man, I took Facebook off of my phone. I took Facebook off, and it wasn't just Facebook. I took LinkedIn off. I took all the social media stuff off because I sat there and I was like searching and see what everybody else was doing. I was comparing myself to everybody else. So then eventually, I started saying, you know what, I can get back on here. And then as I was reading, there's tools that you can use to keep yourself non-distracted, not off.
Right.
So there's like, for instance, I would tell anybody who has a love-hate relationship with Facebook, there's this thing called Newsfeed Eradicator. It was the best app that I found. And then you can put it on your Chrome or your Chrome extension. It's a Chrome extension. And you could go on there. And when you click on your on your Facebook, it eliminates the news feed. I can always go back in there and add it on there. But when I go on there strictly for business. So taking things out that distracted me was the key to really getting focused and staying a lifetime learner. So I read books because I know people were doing big things. So I was like, how are they doing it? And then share it in a book,
Exactly.
In the
now this is so true.
So if you want to research something, it's out there. So I was like, instead of reading the books, and like I said, all these news feeds, Eradicator, I found all that stuff reading in the book. And the more I found myself not getting caught up in what was going on Facebook, the more I found myself more motivated to do things that I enjoyed. So that's how the whole thing really came about with the YouTube channel, because I love interviewing people. I love hearing their stories. I love and really in the back of my mind when I was walking, this is all ties it all back together. I was walking one day just before, I would say sometime in March, and I was walking my dog, and I was thinking, what can I do to offer up something to somebody, something positive. And I thought about, you know what? I like Zoom, because we had to do Zoom since we're all on this COVID-19. And something in the back of my head said, you know what? You can make a YouTube channel with this. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know about that. The age never came never came into the problem or anything like that. I just knew I needed to get onto YouTube. I just didn't know how. So when I had to start using Zoom, and they gave me the the information, the audio and all that stuff. Like, I clicked on YouTube, and it gives you like a step-by-step guide on how to create a YouTube channel, right? So all I had to do was plug in the video stuff, and I'm thinking, oh, I could do this. So then what happened was I started feeling comfortable reaching out to people, because I learned sales with all those sales companies that I failed with. I learned sales calls, and I was able to get book guests on to talk, because I just wanted to hear their stories. You give somebody a minute to talk about the story, they will share. So because everybody wants to know they're being heard, they want to know that what they have is of useful to somebody. So creating an interview show, talk show, was like easy, really. So,
right,
because I wanted to hear the story. So once I got into the groove of it, creating the YouTube channel was easy. And then, like I said, people started to gravitate, because I wasn't worried about what everybody else was doing. I was just doing what Tonia needed to do. So when people give me their story, and I felt like they're trusting me to put out their message. And as I became more aware about who I am, I care about how I portray their message as well. So that's why it's
Mm.
easy to do what I do, because I know I want my message heard, and I know other people want to be heard as well.
That is so awesome. I just love it. I mean, this conversation has just been awesome. Okay, some great nuggets because this is so key for a lot of people to think about. I love how you put, you are mindful of what their message is because this is one of the biggest ways that people get paralyzed is to focus on themselves instead of the message that they're delivering. And once you kind of put that focus on the message instead of you, it gives you that inner strength to keep moving forward and not worry about some of those things that get you stuck in getting started.
Exactly.
So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
The best way you can find me is I am partly on Facebook. You can reach
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm on Facebook, and you can reach me on LinkedIn. It's one of my other sources, as Tonia Tyler, and then I
Mm-hmm.
am on Instagram. My channel for YouTube is under Confident Strides, so you can find me
Okay.
under Confident Strides under Instagram as well. So, but my YouTube channel host is actually, the show's called Coffee with Tea, but I am on Confident Strides.
Awesome. And then what key takeaway would you want to leave everybody with today?
The key takeaway is basically, I would say, stop comparing yourself to others, and
Mhm.
trust your gut. Get still, get quiet with yourself, get reconnect to that divine power source within, and
Mhm.
just listen to. You don't know what it's gonna look like. But
Mhm.
just trust the flow, and I guess that's just the best. Just get quiet, get still, get really quiet with who's speaking with you, and they're directing you. If you just listen,
Mhm.
they're gonna direct you to where you need to go.
I love that. Great words of wisdom. Great words. Well, again, Tanya, I want to thank you so much. I have really enjoyed our time together and looking forward to our next collaboration because I feel like I could be talking for hours. Okay.
Thank you, Lachelle, for inviting me. This was fun, and so it's like, yes, I love to collaborate with
Mhm.
you.
Well, awesome. Well, you have a wonderful day and thanks again for your time, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for joining me on this episode. I really enjoy providing content that inspires and challenges us to be a better version of ourselves. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, please email me at info@lachelleatkins.com. You can also reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, or my YouTube channel. If there was something in this episode that resonated with you, it probably will resonate with someone else. So please share it. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. But those aha moments, those moments of really getting something and changing your perspective are very, very pivotal in having people change the trajectory of their lives. And so being able to share insightful information so that other people can grow is the easiest thing that we can do as we pay it forward. So again, I want to thank you all for listening. And if you have time, write out a review. Go to iTunes, Anchor, wherever you can find this podcast on any of those platforms and write a review about what impact this episode had on you, what you learned, or whatever. Any feedback is great because it just helps me to understand what content is really beneficial for those that are listening. So, again, I want to thank you all for your support and taking the time to spend some time with me and my guests. And I wish you a wonderful day. Thanks for listening.